Okay, Mr. Covey, we are ready to start the meeting. I will go ahead and let the public know that Brian Covey and Carrie Smallwood are both joining us through Zoom. And you will be hearing their voice over my computer. So anyone that is sitting there wondering where they're at, both of them are attending by Zoom this afternoon. Miss Isford will be here in just a few minutes. She's had a long day at the clinic. So she will be attending and she'll just pop in when she gets here. So Mr. Covey, it's good to have you back. It's good to have great news about your wife being home. And we're glad to have you back at a board meeting. So we'll let you call the meeting to order, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Saylor. I appreciate it. And I'm glad to be back in some capacity. So at this time, we'll call the meeting to order. At this time, we ask everyone to stand as we say the pledge.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, we want to remind everybody that needs to sign in. And next, we have recognitions. That would be our mountain movers. Mr. Saylor?
Well, we're tickled to get our mountain movers section of our board meeting back up and going. But just due to the recent spike in COVID cases here in our community and what we've been dealing with here with really a surge in our county, we're going to recognize these individuals tonight, and then we'll make sure that they get their certificates moving forward. So we'll start out with our community mountain mover. And our community mountain mover for the first one of the new year is Mr. Ethan Moore, the general manager of WSKV 104.9. And as everybody knows, Ethan started in part-time broadcast prior to 2005 at WSKV in Stanton. He secured his bachelor's degree in commercial aviation from Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia in 2006. In 2008 and 2009, he assisted in navigating a tower collapse crisis for the studio rebuilding process and launching of online audio streaming. In 2010, Ethan became the general manager of WSKV FM, and in 2019, Pickup Country 104.9 opened a public satellite studio in downtown Irving, Kentucky. And as of 2020, Ethan became 25% owner of Moore Country 104 LLC, the ownership company of WSKV. And as we all know, that last year when we found ourselves in a situation where we were looking for a radio partner for the Estill County Engineers, Mr. Ethan Moore stepped up to the plate and has become an integral part of providing media coverage for the Estill County Engineers and all sports across the board. And we're so appreciative for what Ethan has done for the engineer family. So Ethan Moore, WSKV 104.9 is our community mountain mover of the month. Our next recipient would be our certified mountain mover, and that's Miss Tracy Baber, a 5th grade teacher at West Irvin Intermediate. And Tracy began her career in 2009 and is her 12th year of teaching. She is taught at Estill Springs, South Irvin, and West Irvin, and she's taught kindergarten, 2nd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade. Tracy said she, like all teachers, have had to work hard during the pandemic to make COVID learning fun. She said she loves so much about her job, but one thing that sticks with her is the relationships she builds with her students and that's very important to her. Tracy's also one of our National Board certified teachers, and we are very appreciative of her efforts. So Miss Tracy Baber is our certified mountain mover for the month of September. And our last mountain mover, our classified mountain mover, is Miss Sonia Miller, who is our new LPCC that we hired last year. And she's been in this position, as I said, since last fall. Sonia worked for New Vista for 3 years as an outpatient clinician before coming to the Estill County School District. Sonia said she has always loved working with kids and loves what she does. She has worked with adults as well, but stated that she just loves the kids. And she's been a fantastic addition to our staff, especially in a time when so many kids are experiencing social emotional issues that have been brought about by the pandemic. And we're very appreciative of everything that Sonia has done. I'd also like to recognize our new sponsor for the Mountain Mover program, and that is Backstreet Grub. And we're very appreciative for them stepping up and being our sponsor, and each of our certified and our classified mountain movers will receive a $10 gift card from Backstreet Grub. So we're very appreciative for their sponsorship. And that's it for our mountain movers, Mr. Covey. So congratulations to all 3 recipients.
Absolutely. All of those folks, those accolades definitely need to be celebrated. So with that, the next thing on the agenda would be resume student presentation on January 1st, 2022.
Yes, and as you know, we had decided that we was going to start our presentations in August. But of course, about the time we got back into school in August, we started seeing the surge of the Delta variant. And we just felt like that, you know, it's not probably conducive for us to bring a group of students to the board right now. And so we've decided to wait to January. We do believe that there's better days ahead. And at that point in time, we will go back with our regular schedule, which I believe is middle school. Should be our first presenter in January. So we look forward to hearing from our students and from our schools once we're able to get back to that as part of our regular agenda.
All righty. Next on the agenda is facilities construction update, the Area Technology Center.
We've got Peter with us. Jeremy is not able to attend tonight. I believe he's got a child in quarantine. He is responsible for watching. So Peter is going to pick up the baton here and move forward with all the facilities updates tonight. So Peter?
Well, great. On the Estill ATC, I am sort of approaching this from the designer standpoint and not necessarily from your CM. But I do know I was on site today, and I did notice several Rising Sun crews on site finishing up final punch list items, and our team is ready to back punch the site area and the final areas of the building, the pedway and pedway tower, this week. So as soon as we get word from Codell on that front. There are a couple of lingering issues, but nothing more pressing than getting that site work done. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have about the ATC project, if I can.
How close are we to being completely finished?
There'll be a little bit of lingering work. There's some equipment that hasn't come in for the building yet, okay, that specific teachers wanted or that we needed to get for the building. Mm-hmm. And so there are the electricians, and then also I think some of the asphalt that has been designed for the school and the back part of it, mm-hmm, is going to take a look. We're going to try to wait to get that installed until this baseball softball complex is well underway. So there's a little bit of work
That's
there as
understandable.
well. But we anticipate getting it, closeout documents to you just as soon as we can.
Okay, thank you.
And if you guys will look, if you look at the second page of that pay app, it sort of tells you which contractors have been paid out at 100%.
Correct.
A lot of them are closed out. So some of these have already received final pay apps. Some of them are receiving final tonight. So those are all indicated there. As you can see, probably 90% of them, 80% of them are completely paid out at this point in time. So that's good. The remaining issues that are sitting out there that I think everybody's aware of are the flooring issues that
Yes.
we do have a date for. We have a date of install for in terms of our tile that's got to be replaced due to a manufacturer defect in the tile. And also, we've got the 3 labs that will be addressed. In addition, that's really not part of this contract, but they're still being addressed, and contingency money is being used for those. I believe those happen in December.
That is the plan, yes.
So I really feel like you'll have a BG4 on this project in January, wouldn't you agree?
That sounds about right, yes.
So once the BG4 is there, we'll get the BG5 complete. And what that does is that allows us to close out this entire bank account that was part of this project, the bus garage, and the land purchase was all 3 at part of that bond sale. So we'll be able to close out that bond sale totally and get it wiped from the books before the end of the fiscal year, okay?
Okay.
So that's it for the update, Brian.
Okay. Just to make note, sir, and just to capitalize on the vision that you had, the job that, and the vision that the former board members had, and Peter and Jeremy and their teams who have done a magnificent job. My daughter has a class over there, Mr. Saylor, and she has basically told me every single day how amazing it is. And I don't know, that just speaks volumes to what has happened out there. And I don't know, it makes us feel good as parents, and you all as educators, and the vision you all had. So with that being said, we'll move on to the next item is approved pay estimate 25.
And before I go with that, Brian, I would say this, that we've got a lot of positives in our school district. And yes, as always, we've got room for improvement. I hope everybody will focus on the positives and the things that we've been able to do. And I can tell you this, the board made the right decision on the pedway lettering. If I've had one person talk about that pedway, I've had
Shining star.
500 talk about that pedway and how impressive it is. And that was a great addition in terms of that lettering. So I just wanted to make sure that that was discussed here in this board meeting tonight.
It serves so many purposes,
Absolutely,
more than
sir.
just being there and showing engineers.
Yes, yeah, and the original ideal was a good ideal, but this ended up a great ideal because of the way the pedway was formed.
Safety and
Well, that's
shooting.
something else, and I just want to add to that, Mr. Saylor. I've had people from outside of the county tell me that how absolutely awesome that is to drive by the school and see that lit up up there. They said that they want that. So
Yes.
it's kind of nice to be the envy of something, of everybody else for a change, instead of us being a little jealous of what everybody else has. So.
Fantastic. I'm glad that my work with this board team over the last 7 years has helped produce that, and I am very fortunate to be a part of it and be a part of this school district. So thank you, and I appreciate the community for their support, because without them, it wouldn't have happened.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, moving on, approved pay estimate 25.
As you all can see there, pay estimate 25 is for a total of $642,959.21. And it's been reviewed by the architect and signed off on by Codell Construction. So my recommendation to the board is that that pay app be processed and paid at this time.
All righty. Do we have a motion to pay estimate 25?
I make the motion.
Ms. Sheila makes the motion. Ms. Hardy makes the second.
All righty. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Make sure that purposely call out Carrie and, so we can hear them.
Did you get all those ayes, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman?
I did get Carrie as well. So Carrie and Brian both voted aye over Zoom, along with the both board members that are in attendance. So the motion carries 4-0.
All right, moving on is our Estill County High School renovation Phase 7. I guess Peter has an update on that.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, sure. I can provide an update. Things are going gangbusters at the top of the hill if you haven't been up there. I was just here a couple weeks ago talking about the project. Phase 1 is the baseball and softball venues, and they have done a lot of work there getting foundations in. It's my understanding they were hoping to get slabs poured sometime very soon, if not today.
Today, they were
Yeah.
poured today.
Good.
So they were up there today doing that, which is great. And there's also a lot of work going on down at the tennis courts, getting the tennis courts ready. A lot of the work that's been happening on this project so far is centered around site utilities, stuff that you don't see it, but very soon you'll start seeing buildings come out of the ground. And early November's not very far away anymore, and that's when we start work on Phase 2, which is the stadium area. So things are about ready to get very busy around the high school. Be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
So
I
do
will-
we have all the concrete moved from the tennis court now, Peter?
What's that?
The blacktop has been removed.
Yes.
I was there today and actually saw Jeremy. He was on site today and for a little while, and I actually caught him while he was on the hill. I spoke to the Rising Sun General Foreman, and he said that they were grading the tennis courts today
Yeah.
to put them on grade, and they expect as soon as the drain line is reinstalled, they expect that tennis court, the blacktop to be laid on it sometime within the next week and a
That is
half.
correct.
Great.
So the tennis courts are on time. They're like Peter said, it's hard. Nobody sees what's going up on the hill. And unless you want to take your vehicle through a muddy mess, I suggest you don't do it, because I ended up having to wash a vehicle today by going up there. But a lot of work's taking place, and utility work, as Peter says, it's all underground. You don't see it, but you got to have it. But
Very interesting.
I was assured today that we are on track to
Yes.
have the base coat of blacktop put down before the plant's closed,
That is correct.
which is huge, so we can at least start the season out of the mud.
Yep.
Good.
And then once the blacktopping for the rest of the project's done, they'll put the final base coat down, and the blacktop will be done in the spring. So it's moving forward well. Any other questions, anybody?
Sounds great.
And if you think we're getting a lot of positive comments about the pedway, wait till they get to go by that football stadium and they get to play in those new baseball, softball complexes. It will be absolutely fantastic.
Absolutely.
There is no pay app for this one for the board members. We've just had trying to get contracts processed and everything else, and there was some issues with some new contractors not understanding exactly the process for getting everything in. So there's no pay app. So you'll see your first pay app next board meeting on the 21st of October.
Okay. Moving on, our air quality upgrades, the ESSER 3, that's West Urban Elementary.
Yes, so we have heard from Thermal Equipment on West Urban, the filter grid replacements, which was part of the alternate that was taken, is the only work that's left to complete, and they anticipate being complete with that by the middle part of next week. Everything else on the project is complete, and they will be, hopefully, if they get everything ready and can get their paperwork here in time, we can wrap that up with closeout at the October meeting.
And just a clarification, so our parents at West Urban will know that all of the bipolar ionization
Yes.
units are up and running. That is a big part of our mitigation for COVID-19 in that building. All of the makeup air units are now functioning at 100%,
Yep.
which allows for fresh air to be brought into the building. All of the plumbing issues that had been a problem in the past have been addressed, and hopefully has taken care of some of the issues that we have sometime with some of the sewer smell that we've had in the past. We believe that those things have been addressed. And
Controls have also been completed on the
Yeah.
HVAC system.
the building is under complete control. Mr. Todd Reese can sit at his house watching TV, and he can control everything within the building. And he can look at it and make sure that everything is up and running and functioning as it should be. And don't be alarmed because the filter cases have not been put in yet.
Correct.
There's still filters within the system. This is just the new filters. They weren't installed properly when the building was done
Correct.
7, 8 years ago, and now they're being done the correct way, which will allow for an easier exchange of those filters into the system, which makes it a lot easier on our maintenance and custodial
Correct.
workers. So we'll have PayApp and hopefully BG4,
That would be the plan, yes.
and we'll close that thing out with a BG5 in November. So that one's going to close in November.
Okay,
All right.
all righty. Next will be the Estill County district-wide update on the air quality.
Yes, so all of the work is complete on the district-wide project. We are collecting closeout documents for the district and intend to have project closeout for you guys here in October. There are several different forms that have to get together. We want to make sure we have all of the warranties, all of the, if there is owner training that is required, which I doubt, but if there is, we'll want to make sure that happens as well. But the work has all been installed in all 4 facilities and is working.
Good.
So final PayApp in October along with the BG4, BG5 for the board, November 5th to close the project out. And so the public will know that was our ESSER 2 money, and we've tried to make sure that we've used the federal money that was given to the district to address issues with the pandemic. It is being strictly used to adhere to items within the matrix, the spending matrix that we were given. So both of those projects have been absolutely fantastic, and not only will it help us right now during COVID, but it will also address in the future the spread of the flu and other types of airborne pathogens that may come about. So those were 2 fantastic projects, and I'm glad to really say that they're 99.9% complete. And then, in all honesty, as far as air quality is concerned, they're 100% complete.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. All right, moving on. Next on the agenda would be future projects, update on approved projects.
That would be, of course, the sewer line replacement at the high school,
And
the HVAC controls at the high school, in the West Urban parking lot.
Correct. So those BG1s were approved by the board, I think, at the last meeting on the 9th. And the district is getting, a couple of those projects require a little bit of additional paperwork with ESSER. We're using that on the HVAC controls and the sewer line project. Once all of that paperwork is pulled together, those BG1s can be forwarded to KDE. The district will be pulling those together, it's my understanding, this month. So we will get started on those. We're working in the office on scheduling those out to deliver construction documents to you guys, and I expect we will have at least one set of those in front of you guys in October for the sanitary line. Because work needs to coordinate with the other work that's going on in that stadium area.
Just so you all know, the major hangup is being getting to this board meeting tonight. You're going to approve the ARP ESSER 3 budget here in just a little bit. And once that budget's approved, which is where these projects are located, that will turn Jeremy loose to be able to upload them into FactPack. We expect the budget to be approved tonight, should be uploaded into GMAP by Tuesday of this coming week. And hopefully Jeremy will be able to upload those 3 BG1s. He could upload West Urban now, but we'll just wait and upload them all 3 the same day. That way it's not difficult for him to just keep going back and forth. So those BG1s will be up and submitted by next Friday on the 1st.
And there is a little more design work involved in West Urban. I don't expect we'll have construction documents ready for you all until November anyway, so.
We have
There's not
went
as much
back
of a
and
rush.
added some lighting in that lower parking
Good.
lot and along the walkways, because that's a big area. We don't want it to be dark and cause any type of falls or anything that's going to give Grant more work. We don't want to give
No.
Grant more work than he's already got.
Stay out of the
So
legal realm.
Jonathan probably would appreciate more work, but we'll try to keep Grant happy and underworked and well paid.
No lawsuits.
Okay. Well, as you mentioned, the sanitary line replacement, and then of course the pavement improvement project. Do we need to approve the OA agreements separate, Mr. Saylor, or how do we need to do that?
Peter, do you feel like we need separate motions to approve the owner-architect agreements for those 2 projects?
I don't, as long as they're listed in the minutes, the projects are listed, I don't think you have to have separate motions. That would be
You
fine.
agree with that, Grant? Okay, so this is for the owner-architect agreements, which of course is a contract between us and Ross Torrent to go ahead and begin, which they've already begun, the design work and all of the construction documents on those 2 projects. So with that in mind and them being our ESSER 3 projects, my recommended motion is that we approve the owner-architect agreement for the 2 ESSER 3 projects. And Rebecca, you may want to reflect in the minutes ARP ESSER 3 projects at Estill County High School, and that's the recommended motion.
Okay. Mr. Saylor recommends the motion, so do we have a motion?
I make the motion.
Sheila has the motion.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Tammy has the second.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Make it noted that both Brian and Carrie voted aye on Zoom, along with our 2 board members in the present in the boardroom. So that is a 4-0 vote.
Moving on down to 3B, do we need to consider approval of the survey proposal from Smme?
Yeah, let's get A first, which is the
Oh,
owner-architect agreement for that project, and then, yes. That's okay. We just
Sorry about
approved the
that.
first 2, and that's no problem,
Okay.
Brian.
Okay. So next is West Urban Intermediate Pavement Improvement Project, approved owner OA agreements, pavement improvement.
And again, that is just our contract with Ross Torrent to complete the design work and all construction documents leading up to bid day. And of course, they'll be overseeing the project as it is installed. Now, remember, these are GC projects, so it does not involve a construction manager. So Codell is not part of any of these 3 projects. So with that being said, my recommendation is to approve the OA agreement with Ross Torrent for the West Urban pavement project.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Tammy made the motion this time.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Tammy. Do
I
we
second.
have a second?
Sheila did get the second.
Okay. If we will, all in favor, by signifying by saying aye.
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 And again, let it reflect that Brian and Carrie both voted aye on Zoom, so that is a 4-0 vote in approval for the West Urban project.
Okay. Now we'll get down to the consideration or an approval of survey proposal from Smme.
Yes, so we received a couple of proposals to do surveying for that lower lot at West Urban. And the engineering company, Smme, who's done a lot of work here in the district, was the low bid on that. To get the survey for that project, which will really allow Michael Mays, our civil engineer, to do the work and the layout for that parking lot. The cost is $5,055.12. And Ross Tarrant is recommending, based on the cost and the scope of work to be performed, we would recommend selecting Smme.
And you all do have the copy of Ross Tarrant's recommendation letter, and there was two companies, as he said. SM&E, their bid is $5,055.12. And if we can get this approved today, they'll have that back probably sometime around October 15th.
Correct.
For Michael. Where this does border the street there in front of West Urban, they need to make sure that the sidewalks and items that's close to the road is off of county property and does actually belong to the school system. Because we technically cannot spend money that's off of school property. So he just wants to make sure that all that survey work just hits right with that. So my recommendation is to approve Smme for the survey of West Urban.
All righty, do we have a motion for this approval?
Tammy did make a motion again.
Okay, thank you, Tammy. Do we have a second?
Sheila's made the second.
Okay, for everybody in agreement, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Again, I will reflect that Carrie and Brian both said aye on Zoom, so we have a 4-0 vote. Motion carries.
All right, moving on, approve BG1, the South Urban window replacement and safety upgrades.
Great, so this project, the BG1, would be something that the district would upload to FactPack. I've provided a narrative of the project for you, which includes replacing the windows in the original and 1967 classroom addition wings to improve indoor air quality and ventilation, replace windows in adjunct classroom building, construct secure entry vestibule adjacent to the administration suite per Senate Bill 1 to provide additional security to the building, upgrade door hardware to provide additional security to classroom spaces per Senate Bill 1, and also eliminate accessibility issues, and replace the school intercom system. The total project cost, which shows up on page 3 of the BG1 draft that you have in front of you, is $454,105. And this is my understanding that ESSER 3 funding would be used for this project. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Mr. Seiler, what about the HVAC there at West South
The
Urban?
HVAC system there at South Urban is in decent shape, so it's not in need of an upgrade at this time.
Okay.
So,
There was some work done in 2015, not all that long ago,
But
on
the
that
filters
system
and
there.
everything are comparable to West Urban and the other schools that we've upgraded?
yes, they do have bipolar ionization
Okay, that's my
units
main-
at South Urban, and this will address, as you know, with air quality. It also, at times, when it comes to fresh air coming in the building, the window replacement over there, the only way to get a window open over there is break it
I
out.
know.
Yeah.
And so that's why this is so important, I think, to get this project done. This will be on Peter and them to come up with a time and schedule that will make this
Yep.
work. But we do think that it's possible to get this ran through and get it done and possibly be ready to go for the fall. especially with some of the.
School would be ready to go in the fall, yes.
With preschool finishing early and starting later, it gives them a little bit longer window. And it deals with air quality and safety upgrades, which is right down the alley of ESSER 3 funding. So my recommendation is that we approve a BG1 for the ARP ESSER 3 window replacement project at South Urban for $454,105.
Okay, do we have a motion for the window replacement?
I make the motion.
You have a motion with Sheila
Okay, now do we have a second?
and a second with Tammy.
Okay, thank you all for that. We will signify by saying aye if
Aye.
you're in approval.
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record reflect that Carrie and Brian both recorded an aye vote. Miss Donna Isford has now joined the meeting, and she's voted aye as well, so that is a 5-0 vote in favor of the BG1 approval. Thank you all. Peter, get to work.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to finish on up and get down to 4 of the action items, Mr. Saylor, and then I'll let Donna get settled in and she can take over if that's okay.
I think that's fine by her, however you want to do it,
Okay.
she said.
Okay, all righty. Moving on, next is our middle school restroom renovation and safety measures.
Correct. So on, this is the BG1 for the middle school restroom renovations project. You'll notice on page 2, the narrative is shorter than that for South Urban, but it's some critical work, plumbing and interior finish upgrades in restroom and locker room spaces throughout the building, door hardware upgrades to address Senate Bill 1 security, and ADA accessibility. This project, the costs are outlined below that narrative, and as you'll see on page 3, near the top of the page, the total project cost is $581,356. Again, that's a cost opinion. And I think that's it. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have about that one.
Brian, again, that's to remodel all of the restrooms in that building, which are
Yes.
probably the one feature in that building that suffered the most early damage because of the pyritic
Yes.
shell, because of the finishes in there. The tile work just was not able to withstand that, along with, that was back during the day too, where everybody got the bright idea to start using concrete block for the, all the stalls in the
Yes.
restrooms.
Yes.
Which just was not a good idea in this particular building based on what was going on. So it will completely renovate those restrooms, which is, I think brings that building up into pretty good shape. We addressed the security entrance a year ago with a new security entrance vestibule. And now I believe we had at least 5 doors on this project with hardware.
Yes.
And that's a joke because there's what, about 200 doors?
There's a lot of doors.
There's more doors in this building than any building that we have.
It's true. A lot of doors.
So to bring those all up with the new features that's required as Senate Bill 1, and to also put them on a common master.
Right.
And the good thing is when all these are done, every door in this district can be opened by one key, which only a select few people will have, by the way.
Good.
But every door will be able to be opened with one key, so Todd will be able to quit walking with a limp. He'll just have one key on his ring instead of, 200 keys. So with that being said, that BG1 is for $581,356. Again, this is an ARP ESSER 3 project, which is right down the line with spending for plumbing and security upgrades. It's my recommendation we approve this project.
All righty, I think this is definitely an area of positivity, that's for sure. Do we have a motion on this item?
I make the motion.
Sheila made the motion.
All right, thank you, Sheila. Do we have a second?
Tammy made the second.
All right, thank you, Tammy. We'll all signify by saying aye if in agreement. Aye.
Aye.
All righty.
Signify
Any
that
opposed?
Brian and Kerry both voted aye, so the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, great. All right, next we have review preliminary schematics for possible Estill Springs renovation and addition project.
Great. So you guys, I was just here a couple of weeks ago, and there were some comments about taking a look at some things in a different way. And hopefully I've put a presentation here together to answer some of your concerns and to provide you with some views of some other things. So we'll kind of scroll through this if we can move to the next page real quick. Thank you. So this is one of the comments I think Sheila made last month was about the shape of the building and sort of the wings sort of looking off. So we kind of we knew we had to come up with an area for the new addition, and this is sort of the opportunity on this job site. You can't get too close to the creek. There's a geothermal well behind. So I kind of tried to regularize the shape and provide the 2 classrooms and the media center in the front. You can almost envision sort of a third wing of this building facing 89. One of the best things about getting the media center out into a new space is you'll notice, if you can think about like West Irvin's library media center, and the ability to kind of pop the ceiling up, get some higher spaces that are a little bit more energizing for young kids to be in. That's one tremendous bonus for thinking about moving the media center out this way. And the cost opinion didn't change any on this from what I showed you a couple of weeks ago, but I do think that the building layout has been simplified quite a great deal, and this particular one would be very easy to coordinate with the existing architecture on
That's what my
site.
concern was.
If we go to the second one, it's just a play on the same thing. It's just again, sort of moving the classrooms around to the quiet side of the street, getting them away from 89, and then you would have this library media center that would be sort of the front and sort of a new and sort of spectacular part of this building, which is kind of exciting. The third one, though, I'm really excited to show you guys here tonight for a couple of reasons. So we'll roll one more. And this one, I need to jump ahead on mine. So this one is showing a 4 classroom addition on the end of the classroom wing. And it is a smaller addition, right? And we would renovate the existing media center. So it's a little bit smaller addition. It has the 4 classrooms tacked on to the end. We would need to sort of rework the vehicle approaches and the parent drop-off there. But you pick up 4 classrooms, and this architecture would be seamless with the existing architecture, right? This really does work well with the building as it has been built and constructed. You can almost sort of envision that wing just sort of growing out next to it. And the other thing that's really interesting, because it's a smaller addition, the building addition itself is about $300,000 less in the cost opinion than doing the media center as a new building on the same spot. Do you all have any questions about the building? These are 3 that we came up with. I'd be happy to answer any of those, and then I've got a couple of site plans to show you as well.
Okay, in comparison with the new media center to the current in size-wise, would they be similar in size? Or what?
Yes, they would. Yes. If you kept this, that's the plan, is to meet sort of KDE's model programming size for a media center. The existing media center is a little larger, but it has 3 large rooms in it that are dedicated media center spaces at this time. So it's sort of, but there's plenty of room. You know, if we got into design and you wanted to see something a little larger, we could look at that.
Okay. I just wanted to know if they were compared.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are good, all three
Options.
good options to sort of match what you already have. The other part of that, of course, was the site plan work that we talked about. And of course,
Correct.
the ideal of being able to exit onto 89 out of the parking lot, which of course would be a little bit of additional money compared to what it was before. So you do save enough money if you go with the 4 classrooms on the end, which really makes the building sort of seamless in terms of what it looks like. You're gonna save more than enough money there to pay for any of the site upgrades that you would need to do for the additional and new parking once Old Irvin has been torn down. And of course, Old Irvin being torn down is part of this. We're still exploring using the old gym floor from Irvin in the current gymnasium along with new bleachers as part of this. And of course, building the sort of the memorial plaza out front that will always stand in remembrance of the fact that Irvin High stood on this site, which is what all of the alumni of Irvin High has asked for. If the building had to be torn down, then they would like to see some type of way that they could mark the spot of the building.
Could we incorporate some of the bricks from the building into that design?
That is part of trying to save the brick, to
Yes.
use the
The
brick.
masonry on the existing building
And
would
also
be
use
part
the
of the memorial.
eagle symbol for their mascot. Is there some way we could incorporate that into the memorial design?
We can design it however that we'll involve them in what
good.
exactly that looks like. And I think that they would be glad to put together a little committee in terms of what that would look like, how we would do
That'd be good.
that. Even had a discussion today is, would you even want to mark, even though it is Estill Springs and we know that it's the engineers, but because we're using that old floor, do you go back to the original black eye and put it in the center of the floor? And I don't know that you want to do that. That may be going a little, especially since it is Estill Springs and engineers, we might not want to go that far, but we can incorporate that as part of that memorial marker,
That
however
would be
we
good.
want to do it. And I think just using the gym floor in itself is really a big thing to just sort of preserve some of that building.
So, yeah, so there are a couple more slides that I want to show you. The one after this, Rebecca or Jeremy, whoever's moving this so well for me. This is the site plan that you saw the last time I was here just a couple of weeks ago, where we just had, we were sort of dealing with the existing conditions and improving existing conditions. And I just wanted to bring that up to you just to provide sort of reference. Our site department did take a look at the comments that you made, Mr. Saylor made, and we came up with something else, and that's going to be the next slide.
Well, and I'll give Miss Escort credit for that because she brought that up, and I want to make sure, and I think it's ended up, I think you're going to be pleased with what they've been able to come up with.
Good.
So if you'll go to the next slide then, great. So this one, I think you can kind of see the direction that we've moved with this, and the addition that you kind of see there in black sort of in the middle is representative of the 4 classroom addition there, sort of how that would fit on the end of the building. And you would have a double lane, one directional traffic flow around the back of the school. As you can see, entering off the side road there on the east part of this, or on the right side. And then we have created sort of a spur to help people get up onto the football field, the practice field there, in the playground area. Then there's parking all along behind the school, and then as you move around, you would have your parent pickup and drop-off zone. You would probably use the right lane for that. The left lane could be used for people who needed to pass or move on to go to the parking lot, or the parking lots, I should say. And then we have, the parking lot is new there, that is behind Old Irvin. but we are able to really reduce the amount of hardscape that's going on behind the school. It's hard to see with the aerial underlaying everything, but where you don't see the concrete, you know, that would all be green space, which is really nice. And then we have the 2 parking lots before you are able to head out and make your choice by going right or left onto 89. And of course, no entry off of 89 on that road.
I think it does create a great traffic flow.
Yes.
I believe it does supply you with additional stacking for vehicles in order to
Absolutely.
be able to get people off those back streets.
Yes.
And then with direct exit onto 89, then you do not have the two-way traffic that goes on the street that goes downtown. As you can see, the proposal is that to keep people from trying to cut that way, we basically will leave this driveway open, but we are going to cut it right there. It would
Correct.
only be used for emergency
Vehicle
egress. So this would be some type of barrier here. All this concrete, that's what he's talking about, all the hardscape. All this old concrete, it all comes out of here, and it can be graded for green space that will allow some of this water that we've been having issues with can be used for retention and to get rid of some of this water that will keep it from backing up into the school the way it has twice in the last year.
Well, that's what we'd have to do with the new addition to ensure that it's okay.
And then it gives Michael a chance to really hit these storm drains.
Yes.
There's some storm, I guess, culverts and stuff there that are inactive.
Yeah,
They're
there's one.
disconnected.
There's one right there in the,
There's a drain right here that doesn't work any
That's
longer. that
right,
goes
right by
across
the
there.
pool
So-
building, there's a trench drain that just.
All the
doesn't work.
water has come off this parking lot here and it's ran right here to this corner.
Yeah,
And what that will do by getting rid of this and bringing this up, bringing this grade up some and working on the grade, we can get rid of a lot of this water.
and Old Irvin as well, you know, with it being gone, you're gonna be able to grade
Yeah, 'cause
and
it's-
really, it
And
will really make a
we would
difference.
connect these parking lots here. I do think it's still important to have the sidewalk leading up to the memorial. This sidewalk would connect here, along with here, there'd be a pedway
Crosswalk.
or a pedestrian crossing right here for that parking lot. So it makes a lot of sense. It gives them a lot of parking this way, and it just helps with the overall traffic flow. And I hope this is sort of what you are talking about. We also know that we have to provide access
Yes.
for the residents right here. It's not shown right now, but that's part of our easement with them, that we have to show access here. So you'll lose a couple of parking spaces there providing them access.
Correct.
But that is that's a design that we like that design. He had one other one that he may want to share with you. I really didn't. I thought that it was a little bit confusing on how you enter the
more.
parking lot. This one here.
Yeah,
This one provided for spaces that were so far away out here next to the housing project, all the way over here on the right. So it sort of eliminates that. As you can see, that didn't have that access road to the football field that really needed to be there. And it's a little bit confusing on how you got in and out of that parking lot and how you got back out on 89. So
correct.
I'm not saying that if that's what you all want to go with, they can work on it, but I really do like the design of the other one. If you want to go back to it, Jeremy.
Yeah.
So it really totally eliminates the use of this. This is no
Yes.
longer really an exit that can be used. It can be used in an emergency. If you need it open for an emergency,
So that's gonna
this
have
would
parking lot
provide
now.
access out of that parking lot and out, but they'll be like bars. Even this blacktop right here, that'll all be shored up and gone out, and it will match up over here. And
That would
Basically,
be,
the residents of this house will still be able to, they park their cars here now, they'll be able to do that. As long as they just don't block the entrance for emergency use, they can continue to use it just as they always have.
So you cannot go down through there or come out there at all, right?
You're not
As
gonna be
long as
allowed
they're-
to use this entrance whatsoever. They can't enter there, they can't exit there, because this will be blocked off with some
Okay.
type of gate that can be removed for us to use when needed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would think the residents would be happy about that.
Well, it's definitely gonna help. I mean, and this has nothing to do with the fact that your clinic is on the street, the main street that goes into town. Miss Isaacs lives on that same street. It's a nightmare of the mornings, because you got traffic trying to come in, you got traffic trying to come out, you got traffic trying to come in on this street here. So you got traffic coming in here, you got traffic coming in here, then you got traffic exiting here and there.
Like this.
Yeah.
So it just eliminates all the exits.
Yeah.
This is entrance only in town.
good.
This is exit only on the 89, and it just gets the two different groups of cars away from each other. Buses are still out front.
And that's a lot of cars you can stack
It is.
Right.
with 2 lanes. I mean, I think it has to be better than what we have.
I think that's significantly better.
I would think so
Yes.
too.
I think that's a significant improvement. It's a great suggestion. Thank you.
And it cleans up that, we were gonna have to blacktop that or do something with it anyway. You know that the blacktop and everything was absolutely destroyed there. Old Irvin needs to come down. So this just gives us the ability to do this all at once if you all decide to approve it. It's gonna be about $2 million worth of ESSER money, as we said, probably 6 to 750 on the capital outlay cash that we actually have on hand. So to address the fact that they're gonna say, you probably don't need to be doing parking lot work with ESSER money. Okay, so that will address the money used for that. So I feel like it's a good plan. It's just a matter of what you all wanna do with the building. And if you all like this traffic flow, they can bring us back, or they can sort of clean this up. We can bring it back on Monday if you all want to think about it to Monday. We got to meet Monday, of course.
I had a question about the classroom size. You said those classrooms are smaller than the existing classrooms?
Yeah, I meant the whole classroom addition is smaller. When you do a 4 classroom addition, the addition is about 4,300 square feet. When you do 2 classrooms with the media center, you were looking at 5,600 square feet.
But these classrooms
The classrooms are
comparable
800
to the
square
other
feet.
classrooms
They're a
that
little
are
bit,
there.
they're a little bit larger.
Okay, good.
That's
They're
what I
actually
wanted to
bigger,
make sure
yeah.
about.
That's good.
Yes.
So
We actually asked Peter to look at the fact that 2 of these would be preschool classrooms.
Yeah, that's not
which
shown. I
means
don't
that
have
2 of those classrooms will actually have access to restrooms.
Yeah.
Might also give you the ability to move your FMD classroom. You know, those kids are on the inside of that building. There's no windows, there's no sunlight. You can pop your FMD classroom out there. That's going, I think, would help those kids social, emotionally, and physically. So it gives you some options there.
Right.
And in the future, you know, this year, we were actually looking for another classroom for a birth to 3-year-old, a birth to 2-year-old classroom. We didn't have one because South Irvin, of course, is now operating at capacity. May give you that there. You might could operate one of those programs right there. So we will put bathrooms in 2 of those, which will be 2 preschool classrooms, which then, of course, allows us to fall under the model building program. We were actually 1 classroom too many.
Right.
And then as Peter and I got to talking about, well, wait a minute, we can have preschool classrooms, and none of them was designated as preschool, so we just designated 2 of them as preschool, and it put us under the model program, which means that we don't have to ask for a permission from KDE.
So with that third option that we're looking at now, that project is $300,000 estimated less than the previous two.
It is, yes, it is. Right now, I do want to make a caveat that the improvements that we made to the traffic flow plan in the back of the building, they're about $100,000 more. So net, it's about $200,000 cheaper than,
But we're still coming out ahead,
yes.
so to speak.
And that is cost opinion, right? So it's
Yeah.
an opinion of cost for a BG1. We'll continue to look at those as the design develops.
And good thing is, right now, construction costs is starting to come
Go
down,
down.
so
It is a little
materials
bit.
are coming down. And I tell you, I think when you talk about saving $200,000 and keeping an existing media center that operates perfectly fine for
Yes.
that grade level and has already been renovated, so there's not a lot of work to do in there at all.
Well, and that library media center right there is kind of a showcase for the school. When you
Correct.
walk in the
That's right.
front entrance and the E is there on the floor
Yes.
and you can look
Yes.
right
Yes.
into there. So it kind of all,
I
Yeah,
agree.
Is it
Where's
nice?
So
that
that
fit?
it fits.
it fits.
So you got office, media center, lunchroom, gymnasium.
It's all
And
there.
then everything done. It's
And I
a
think that's
perfect
a better
entrance.
flow
Oh.
than having a media
Yeah,
center
on
on
the other
the
end.
opposite end of the building.
yeah, some of those little kids have to go a really long way to get.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
So I think personally,
That's, I like that
this
one the
is
best.
good.
Well, I think if you all feel comfortable, now again, I can bring it right back Monday night if you want 3 days to think about it. Or I can bring it right back on Monday night and you can do it then, but if I was recommending to you tonight, I would recommend that we would choose, and Jeremy, if you'll go back to the presentation you were just showing. And listen, you all, this presentation is not on your board agenda. I will have Rebecca post that presentation tonight or in the morning, but I sent you the email. You've got it on your board email. So Jeremy can go back to it.
I'm fine, boss, I've got where I saved it to.
That's okay. I'm gonna forgive you, since you've dodged a COVID bullet.
Listen, Jeremy, we're all struggling today.
Hey,
I was downloading it again.
Jeremy has been happy today. He received a negative test, so
Good.
he's happy.
Great news.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm one of them weird people, I was happy to get back to work. Which one's?
Narrow it down just a little bit, and it'll tell you right at the top what option it is. I would say that this would be, my recommendation that we would do the option 1 with the 4 classroom addition
Yes.
that's on the south end of the building, along with option,
I
go
think
to
it's
the
gonna-
site
I
plan.
think that one will be option 2. I
Two.
And
think
it's option 2 for the site plan. Go down, Jeremy, if you don't care.
it's 2 slides down, I think.
And it would be option 2 for the site plan. And this whole area here will be a plaza area.
Yeah,
Now remember, there'll be a hallway that goes all the way through to match this front sidewalk out here. There'll be a hallway that matches with it. Be a lot like West Urban.
Urban.
The
Yeah.
5th grade wing at West Urban that has a straight
Right,
pass through and a straight pass through. So this will all be drop-off area here, which will even give them more space than they have now, starting right here and going in this direction. We'll be able to save a little bit of that awning, might be able to repurpose some of it,
Yeah.
but there's not a whole lot of it that comes out there. And then we get rid of all that concrete, get some green space in there,
And drainage.
which would be good for the environment and drainage. So my recommendation, if you all are ready, would be option 1 on the building, option 2 on the site plan, and instruct Peter to bring us back a BG1. Timeline would be construction documents sometime here in the next couple months.
it will depend on what KDE is going to require of this one.
How come I thought that it was option 3 that had the?
It is option 3. It's my
All
slideshow
three.
says option 1 on
Okay.
all of them, but it
So
is the only one
But
with
it's
4
actually
classrooms.
option 3.
3.
It
So
is.
it's option 3,
It
okay?
is.
You're
I'm
confused.
That's got me
Sorry.
confused too. I
Because I'm
wondered.
thinking it's 3 and you're saying
Well,
1.
that's what it said on the
It
slide.
says option 1 on all 3 of them. I
But
forgot to
it's
go
3. It's the
change the
3rd set
title.
of slides.
So option 3 on the building, option 2
It's-
on the site.
It's the only one with a 4
Thank you.
classroom edition. So,
Hey, Carrie and Brian, I just forwarded you the email with the slideshow. So what they're referring to is page 4 and page
6.
6.
Yeah.
So when you'll get a chance to look at it, you'll see what they're talking about.
Okay. Well,
Once again, like, what did you tell me, like, my brain's not functioning. What did you tell me the timeline would be for this?
Yeah, so it's going to depend a lot on how KDE decides to classify this project. Most of the projects we've been talking about this month are fairly small. I anticipate KDE only really needing to see construction documents. But this has a pretty high level of design involved in it with the addition. And my guess is they'll probably label it a tier 1 project, which means they're going to want to see schematic designs, design development, and construction documents for this project. That tends to lengthen out the design phase, which we can use. We want to get this right. We want to do it the right way. Mr. Sale and I talked about the possibility of splitting out a site, an early site package that would address the vehicular circulation initially, and then you have room and a little bit more time to get the design of the building and get the building built,
Can I
possibly trailing that a little bit.
Can I ask one more thing, since
Mhm.
we're talking about this?
Yes.
We're talking about building a memorial there in the green part of it?
Yes.
The grass part of it? Would there be a possibility that we could include like some park benches?
Oh,
Or
yes.
maybe a couple of picnic tables?
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Something like that?
Yeah, they've requested maybe a gazebo there
Yeah.
and something
Would that
around
be
it.
part of this?
We
Or-
could absolutely add that to it if you'd like. I
I
can
mean,
talk
I
to
think
Josh.
that would be a good time to explore that.
There's also a tree there in front of the old building.
Oh,
In the
yes.
right-hand corner that is designated for a child that died of cancer. And I'd love to see that if we could preserve that
Yes.
tree.
We don't think that front yard will be disturbed
Correct.
pretty much
Okay.
at all.
Because
It-
that
it
was
shouldn't be
dedicated to that
disturbed at
child
all. And I think what we do, Peter, if we designate that as sort of like an outdoor classroom
That'd be
Yeah.
perfect.
type area that would be all included in that, I think that's a great ideal.
Or even build a shelter like we do with the one from the media center that used to be out there. I'm assuming it's still there.
There is a shelter
I'm
there.
just thinking ahead if
I
now would be
have
a time
a landscape
to.
architect that would be crying here right now to hear you all talking,
Yeah.
right?
But I'm just thinking
Josh
now's
is
the
saying
time
would be
to
so
think about
happy.
that. Plus, if we have an extra $200,000 left, would
Right.
that be a time to look at that? If we could use that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I
use it.
think that would probably be something we would have to use our cash for, but I don't think we're talking about a lot of money there in terms of maybe a concrete area or some type of rock area that would include some benches
Shelter.
and that
Right,
type of
right,
thing.
that's
We're
what-
not talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars
And I'm
here.
not,
We're
and
not
I'm
even
not so,
talking.
right, and I'm not so sure that outdoor classroom spaces don't fit under the ESSER,
But that'd be perfect. I mean, we
you
need,
know,
Yeah.
be good
as far
to
as like
too.
social distancing and providing
Especially if
space.
you,
Uh-huh.
that's a good point. So
So-
yes, that's a good thing.
We could have a fountain, we could have a picnic table.
Ah. Maybe we could put in a lazy river.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
No, the outdoor
Then
classroom would be
Michael would
perfect.
be down here every weekend on floating on the river.
I'm just kidding.
We're
You
just
guys know
kidding.
that. I'm just.
So, but what we would do tonight to turn them loose would be to have them bring a BG1 back to us. Peter, I don't know what a BG1 turnaround could be. I don't know that you could have one back to us Monday. that would-
I can try.
Turn you
There's some
loose.
people that I want to reach out to that I'll need to get numbers from, like for special inspections on this project. And there is an HVAC component, so we want to get a little bit of commissioning done. We'll have to.
But we're
So
not
there's
in
some
a,
numbers
we're
on
not
it.
in a
We're not in a
rush.
rush. Okay.
We're not in a rush.
Especially
Okay.
if you do a site, if you split the BG1 and split the project into site and then actual building, I think that would work. That's what we did with the ATC, if you remember, demo
Mhm.
building. This is the same type thing. it is imperative that the parking and the entrance and exit
Have to have
be
that.
done before next school year.
Yeah.
So that would
Yes.
have to be done during the summer.
That'd be first phase.
Because the building is on the end of the building and it doesn't really impact anybody. The building can be done in the fall or whenever, for that matter.
That's exactly right.
That's
It
right.
would be better if the library and the gym could be done during the summer. But it's also, they can work around that if they needed to. We worked around it in the past. Ultimately, the site package is the one that they'll have to get back, get approved,
Correct.
and get that done during the summer.
So I
So,
feel confident we could have it for you at the October meeting, for
Okay,
sure,
that-
right? So,
So the option, my recommended motion is that we approve option 3 on the building, option 2 on the site plan.
and that's what we'll put in the BG1
Okay.
for you all to review, the scope and the cost information.
with the pavilion.
Yes, with the pavilion.
Yes, they'll include the pavilion in it tonight. Those
We will,
adjustments.
we will
With the
add, what we'll do is we'll add some landscaping, furniture. Just sort of like almost like an allowance or something.
Maybe an
for-
equipment line item. It can go
Yeah.
under equipment, right?
Right, exactly.
What about like the area that they have at West Urban where they can go down into a
Yeah,
little
that
like a
was an
ravine
outdoor
and sit?
class area.
Yeah,
Like a little ravine,
like a
I
little.
mean,
like a
because
little
that's,
sunken area.
well, that's gonna be, know that there's a basement in that building and stuff.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a lot of stuff that
And
comes
there's
out of
use-
there, and we've gotta have fill back. And
That's
I'm
exactly
assuming
right.
There's gotta be fill back, so yeah, you could create sort of an amphitheater
Uh-huh,
type
exactly.
area there as well.
Josh just
I
wanted to be
want,
crying.
I want one of
He'd
those
be
little
crying.
ponds too with those
Crying.
fish in it, you know, those
I
big
just think that
fish,
what West
koi
Urban, they
fish.
utilize it.
Yeah,
It's very
yeah.
useful.
You have him look at maybe
My
what that
goodness.
would look like, you know,
We'd love it.
with that, with an outdoor classroom, with the seating and that type of stuff, and I think that'd be a
And
great
somehow
addition.
just incorporate the memorial
I mean, we can
into
have
that.
outside
Okay.
programming for the
It can-
kids.
It can be a park
Yeah.
type
Yeah.
thing
Feel like
during the
a big
summer.
drop down outdoor video screen,
Come on now.
spotlights.
There would need to be a little bit of lighting.
Yes, they would need to be
Yeah.
lighting.
You know, like
Yes.
some of those lights that are, you know, you see them around pools and all these different things, you know, like, it makes it happy.
Yeah.
You do things there at
You said
night.
Jonathan would be happy?
It's Josh Disdain.
Josh, yeah,
yes.
Josh.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, so, well, you've got your order. There's a
Okay.
recommended motion on the floor, option 3 for the building, option 2 for the site plan. And with that approval, he'll bring back a BG1 ASAP.
Yep.
I'll make a motion. I guess.
And I second.
All right, Donna, are you gonna take over from here?
Sure. Are we ready to vote?
Well, you've got a motion and a second on the floor. You've got Tammy that made the motion, and you have Sheila that's made the second. So if there's any more discussion, or you'll have to take a vote on that motion.
I'd like to call for a vote if there's no further discussion. All in favor? Any opposed? Brian
Aye.
and Terry, so 5-0, motion carries. Okay, it brings us down to action items.
Before you go on, there's one other thing you all need to consider on this project. You need to consider whether or not you want it to be a general contractor project. It does meet the threshold that if you want for it to be a CM project, you can involve Codell as the manager to oversee the site work on a day-to-day basis. You just need to be thinking about that. I would not ask you to do that today. Peter can send me back.
I can prep too.
You can prep for whatever you all want to do. You can be thinking about that. You can have discussions with me, whatever you want to do. The fee, I think the thing they'd be interested in is the fee, what that fee would be, and if you want to do it. You just have to make that decision. And you can, of course, listen to the recommendation of Peter at that time. You don't have to do that right now.
Will we still have Jeremy? Is that still be Jeremy?
Hey, Codell is, again, there's a lot of, I mean, obviously, if Codell is able to take on the work and is interested in doing the work, I'm sure that Jeremy will be He's gonna be here in the district anyway next summer, so, I'm sure he'll be
He'll
involved.
be here
in
anyway, so
somewhere.
I would not think it would be an additional person.
I wouldn't either.
But Peter can get you a cost. You need to know
Yes.
a cost up front. It's a percentage of the project,
Yep,
which I don't think the fee would be very large at all, quite honestly.
no, and that's why you just need to sort of
You need to
have
know
some
the
discussions
cost.
with Codell, make sure. and
Can you
that
get us
kind of thing.
projected costs of that fee?
Would you want Peter to ask them, number one, if they would be interested?
Yes.
And then number two, what
Fee.
would be the cost, and then you all can make a decision
And
from
from
there.
there.
And we would probably know more of that in October.
Oh, absolutely,
No,
yes.
we wouldn't do anything to October.
I think that's
Correct.
best plan.
You know, that's not something we can rush over the weekend. So that's just for you to bring back to us, Peter. Thank you.
You guys, thank you so much.
Sorry for interrupting, Miss
It's
Escort.
You're very patient through all my stuff every month. Thank you so much.
You're
I really
welcome. Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Sorry
Safe
I was
travels.
late for your I've had a rough day.
Thank you all.
Okay.
So we're down to our action items, agenda 4, and the first we have is our tax rate for 2021, 2022. And we had tabled that until September the 27th.
That is correct. And let me just make a statement. We're starting to get a lot of phone calls about the letters that had to be mailed out.
I received mine today.
Usually there's two conditions that have to be met anytime that the board is not taking the compensating rate, which we promised the taxpayers that we would not raise taxes, and we're not going to raise taxes. There was an advertisement that was sent to the local paper, and there was specific dates that it had to be advertised to meet the KRS, which is, of course, the law, the Kentucky Revised Statute, for how this has to be done. The newspaper advertised on the incorrect dates. So once we receive our tax rate, we have 45 days in order to act. And what happened, since they missed the deadline, or they missed the dates for the advertisements, then we only had about a week left. So the other part of that law allows for us to mail a letter to every taxpayer that's on the real property tax roll. So we obtained a list of current taxpayers from Jeff Hicks, our PVA. We mailed out 6,500 letters on Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday morning. And I tell you, our ladies upstairs, and we had ladies at our schools that came out, there's a whole list. We'll get you the names of the people that helped us, but they worked diligently. If you can imagine getting 6,500 letters together in less than a 24-hour period.
Amazing.
And getting them stamped and mailed, it was a long process. It cost us probably an additional $5,000, but we would have lost over $110,000 to $120,000 of revenue, which we could not afford to lose, because that, remember, paid for the employee raise. So that would have been money that we would have had to come up with some other way, form, or fashion. So for all the taxpayers that's getting that letter, your taxes is not going up. They're froze at 51.1. Now, the board's going to take that vote now on Monday. They can't take the vote tonight because you're still in the process of receiving your letter. Monday is the absolute final day that we can approve that. So the public hearing starts at 6 o'clock. It lasts for 30 minutes. And at 6:30, we will reconvene a special called meeting, and at that time you will vote on these two items, and that will meet the statute and the guidelines. I didn't want to hide it. We probably could have went on and did this tonight and nobody would have said a word, wouldn't have done anything, but that's not the proper thing to do. We're going to meet the statute, we're going to do what's right, and we'll make sure that there's no honor in doing something the wrong way. So we
Transparency.
ended up doing it the right way, and I'm very appreciative. So nobody panic. We got calls today, are my taxes going up? No, technically, if you're not really concerned about it, it's junk mail. But it's just done to meet the requirement. And I appreciate everybody's understanding on that. So if you are interested, want to come to the tax hearing, it is 6 o'clock Monday afternoon here in this room. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. So, item 1 is to establish the property tax rate for 2021, 2022.
And we'll do that Monday afternoon along with the motor vehicle and watercraft.
Okay. So moving on to item B, the Berea College MOU.
And of course, Berea College conducts both the Gear Up program and the Upward Bound program. We sign a memorandum of agreement with them every year. And I believe it's perfectly okay for us to take those in one motion and approve both of those MOUs since it's with the same entity. So my recommendation is to approve the MOU with Berea College for Gear Up and for Upward Bound.
Do we have any discussion? I'd like to call for a motion.
I make a motion.
Sheila Samples makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll make a second, Donna.
Okay.
Brian made the second.
Brian made a second, and I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Let it be known that Brian and Carrie both by Zoom voted yes.
5-0. So 5-0, so the motion carries. All right, we're moving on to item C, which is approval of the FY22 working budget.
And your working budget been posted. Rebecca got it posted. And let me go to it. I thought that there was supposed to be copies. They may be in my. Let me make sure. Did you have copies, Rebecca?
It's on our
for them?
attachments.
We have them
Just have
attached.
the one.
It's on our attachments.
You have the attachment?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you did get to look at it. I asked them and I bet you they're in my mailbox and I've just not picked them up. But you do have the attachment. And of course, guys, this is the same budget that you all had back in May. To meet the guidance by KDE, we need to approve a working budget tonight. But I also, go back one attachment, Jeremy, that's the ESSER budget.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. One thing that really held us back because we were trying to make sure that we got the ESSER budget lined out is that the ESSER budget had not been approved as well. And that budget was completed here a couple weeks ago, so waiting on the board meeting. There is some revenue that will go in this budget that's not showing right now. You're allowed to take what's called indirect costs for the implementation of any federal program. And on this ESSER 3 project, the indirect cost is $333,000, $333,333.33 for the next 3 years. For a total of $1 million is what we can take in indirect costs and used within our budget. So as soon as you all approve the ESSER budget here in a minute, this budget will be amended to include that $330,000 worth of revenue. But in order to meet the guidance that you have to have a working budget approved now, we're going to approve it without it. There's no changes in this budget that we've discussed in the past. You've got your buses in this budget. You've got a new maintenance vehicle in this budget. You've got a new transportation vehicle in this budget. There are your salaries that have already been discussed, all those things that you approved back in May. So I don't know if you've got any questions. Of course, this budget had $1.2 million as your contingency, which is down a little bit from what, it has been. But of course, remember, there's $300 and some thousand coming back in this budget, which we know is
Can we
going
take
to
it?
raise the contingency
Okay.
back, okay? So also, once you approve this budget, there's also some things that we can move. We can pay for all of our nurses in ESSER 3. So those items will be moving out of this budget and into ESSER 3, which is going to free up additional funding. So when everything is said and done, you will have the $1.6 million contingency, or pretty much pretty close to it. So
I had a question about the vocational transportation, the buses that take the kids to Richmond.
yes.
Do you anticipate that that will decrease?
It probably will stay the same, because even
We're
though
still
you're
open.
not paid by the number of students that go, you're paid by the cost that you actually incur for fuel and the driver, personnel. So it's gonna stay about the same. It shouldn't,
And then on the Medicaid reimbursement, for services,
we're showing an increase.
yeah.
We should be showing an increase, because with the new ability that the school district has to bill Medicaid, we have done some moving of personnel that allows, for instance, our FMD teachers to bill for services. Our speech people always could bill for services. Now we've got it to where all of them can. We've got maybe a couple of new ones that they have to wait a year. We can bill for nursing services this coming year.
That's what I was gonna ask you about, was
But,
billing.
yeah, in order to set that up, we're only gonna have one nurse that's billing this year because it's new. We've got to get the process down. Plus, by moving our nurses for 1 year to ESSER 3, we'll save our general fund money, but that's federal money, and you can't bill for Medicaid if somebody's paid for federal money. So when those nurses come back
Then you
to
can-
general fund, they'll be able to bill next year, but the process will be worked
But,
out.
but what you're paying with ESSER money is their salaries.
Yes.
This is for services that they render.
But if they're paid, if their salary is paid by federal money, they can't bill for
Same as
Medicaid.
Dale
That's
Dippy.
the rule within Medicaid. So this year, because it's not, it's a brand-new program,
And do we-
Erica is gonna be billing for her services so that we can get all the kinks worked out,
So is
and then we'll be
Erica gonna
full-fledged.
do the Medicaid billing
Yes,
herself?
she will do the Medicaid billing for the services that she provides. She's still gonna be paid for out of general fund.
Has she done that before?
We've not done it before in a lot of areas. The LPCC, Sonia Miller, our mountain mover today,
We
she
need to
will be
talk
able to.
about that.
Yeah.
We need to talk about that Medicaid billing.
Okay. Yeah, and that's all new guidelines that came down from KDE about a year ago. And it's just been an implementation process.
Do you all see anything or have any comments about anything?
But again, there is nothing, absolutely nothing in here that's new.
Once we get our contingency back up, that's. Standard.
So if you all feel comfortable with this, then my recommendation is that we approve the FY22 working budget.
Do we have a motion to approve the FY '22 working budget?
Make the motion.
Sheila makes a motion. Do we have a second? Tammy makes a second. Do we have any discussion at this time? Go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Brian?
Brian and Carrie?
Aye.
Aye from
I'm
Carrie.
sorry. I was trying to say it and I was muted. I apologize.
Okay, motion carries 5-0. So we're out to item D, ARP ESSER 3 budget spending plan that you referred to earlier.
Yes, this is the budget that was put together here sometime around the first of the month. This is the $8 million worth of ESSER funding that we have received. And you can see that it starts out at the top with instructional staffing, which is pandemic related, and it involves, and I'll stand up here where I can see it. It involves, of course, remember we had to hire DPP that's working in conjunction with Tanya this year. So we can pay that salary this year out of that money, along with a virtual school instructor to handle the students that are in the virtual program. And then that goes one more year for the virtual instructor, and that takes care of instructional staffing. Summer school and ESS, remember that ESSER 2 pays for June 2022 and it pays 2023. So now we've added a third year of summer school. So there's now 3, the current year that we just finished, next summer, and the following summer in June and July of 23. Down at the bottom, you can see technology-related spending. The Pearson Online is our online program that we're using for students that are on quarantine leave, and we had to do that. The one-to-one devices, we paid for them for the first 2 years with ESSER 2. This pays the third year, and by the time we get to this third year right here, we will definitely at that time be K through 12 one-to-one. We're right now, by the time we get to December, we're going to be 3 through 12 one-to-one.
And I have actually applied for the ECF funds, the Emergency Connectivity Funds, to help cover K through 2. I have not heard on that, but it was, how much was that cost? About $80,000. If we get approved for that, then it would actually free up these funds for something else. But I won't know if we get approved for that, nobody knows.
And if we do, we can just bump that budget, but either way, by the time we get to the end of next school year, we'll be one-to-one all the way K through 12. Our original goal was to be one-to-one grades 6 through 12, and we're going to be able to double that and be across the board. There is money in here for, of course, your hotspots and things like that. If we have any student that does not have internet capability, if they live in the right portion of the county, there's some portions of the county it's not covered.
They have to have cellular internet access. Like, you have to be able to take a cell phone, hold it up, and say, do I get a signal? As long as I get 2 bars or more, then the hotspot would work at their house. But if there's no cell phone signal on a cell phone, it will not work on the hotspot.
So that's to provide internet capability. If you'll go to page 2, we were able to use this for career and tech education. And you can see we'd already paid for that college and career counselor with ESSER 2. Now we can pay for that college and career counselor for a third year. And that doesn't impact your budget. Health services, you can see where we had bumped this year's nurses into that salary schedule. If we get the Medicaid billing worked out, this money here will be rebudgeted. That $109,000 there on those salaries. The funny thing about Medicaid, Donna can tell you this, they approve something 1 year, 2 years later, they've done something different. So there's no guarantee it's going to be there. So we went ahead and put it in the budget to cover those nurses, and then if it doesn't work out, we can just ship the money. Notice down here with all your maintenance, custodial supplies and equipment, these are your construction projects. There's your high school HVAC, there's your high school water quality, that's the sewer line. There's the middle school restrooms, $625,000. That won't happen until the summer, so that's why it's listed for next year. Estill Springs, you have $3 million budgeted. It's going to be less than that, so know there's some money there. Well, Southwest Urban Window, $500,000. That's all your projects. Furniture, we have included furniture so that if we have to continue to social distance, we'll have to continue to buy furniture. Staffing, the district custodian was paid for in ESSER 2. Now we've got that a third year. You've got a 4-hour custodian at South Urban that's being paid, a 4-hour custodian at Estill Springs, and a 4-hour high school custodian. And if there's anybody out there interested in a custodian job, we have an 8-hour full-time custodian job at Estill Springs open right now. We have a 4-hour full-time high school custodian job. This one right here for 4 hours. If you've got somebody that has the 4 hours and does something else, and they want to be able to have insurance, we can pay full benefits for somebody that's employed for 4 hours. So somebody that's interested in a 4-hour custodian job that will help at the high school and the ATC, that position's open as well. Going on down family support and mental health, remember we hired a counselor at South Urban and a social worker. They're paid for the next 2 years. Now they're paid for a third. On down, Jeremy. And then at the end, we've included money for families and students here in ESSER 2. We included additional money here in ESSER 3 for that, that's FY '24. And then of course buses and insurance. We'd already included buses and insurance for these 2 years. We did have to back up and put an additional $42,000 in here for the handicap bus that we were buying because we had it budgeted somewhere else. So that's in there, and then your buses and insurance is paid for that third year. By the time these 3 years are over with, you will have purchased 10 more buses, which will put you on track that you have bought almost 30 buses, which is what's in your fleet. So you're going to have a brand new bus fleet with every bus that's in depreciation, which when we got here, we didn't have 5. So you can see we'll spend $1.4 million in '22, $4.7 in '23, and $1.8 in '24 for a total of $8,098,125. And there's your indirect costs right there, $333,000 each year, which that will go to general fund items related to pandemic. Does anybody have any questions over that budget? It's in line with what we did with ESSER 2. Again, you have a matrix which tells you exactly how that money has to be spent.
That virtual school instructor, how many kids do we have doing that right now?
We probably have somewhere in the neighborhood of an additional, it was like 20 some, almost 30 kids, and we're taking applications for the spring semester.
But they had to have like a medical reason.
That's exactly right. This is not remote instruction like we know from last year. And that's what's so confusing is that, again, I'm not here to hound on the legislature. I just tell you, here's the facts. The legislature's intent, and they just proved again what their intent was, is that they want kids in school. And there's very little relief for school districts that they have to complete 170 days and kids have to be in school. And the only way you can attend virtual school is there has to be some time, and we're not talking about you just bring in a note from mom that says my child has anxiety over COVID. That doesn't work. We're talking about a child that has a heart condition. We're talking about a child where there's an actual grandma that lives in the house that is immune deficient. And they don't need somebody coming in and out of the house every day. We're talking about those situations, and that helps pay for that virtual teacher. Remember, those virtual teachers are handling students that have been dropouts in the past, which are part of Success Academy. They're also handling your homebound students that are there because of sickness on short-term basis. And then they're also handling these virtual kids as well.
Okay.
It's not open to all students. It's only open to certain students that qualify. But you can make application for that, and there's information on the website about that.
Okay.
Okay. So we need to approve our ESSER 3 budget spending plan.
And yes, and my recommendation is to approve that spending plan, and as soon as you make that recommendation, Angie goes back to work, and we'll bring back the working budget with you that will reflect these changes in it for October.
Okay, I'd like to call for a motion at this time.
Make the motion.
Sheila makes the motion. Do we have a second? Tammy Hardy makes the second. Do we have any discussion? Call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries 5-0.
Again, Brian and Carrie did vote aye if anybody in the public did not hear it.
So we're down to our consent items.
Pretty straightforward, you know, you got your minutes. We have the treasury report, payment of bills, update, signature authorization. We have a lease agreement with Faust Oil, which allows our band to use one of their tractors to pull their trailer for their competitions. And those are the only consent items. There's nothing that I feel like I need to pull out, so my recommended motion is to approve those.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the consent items as noted?
I can make a motion.
Brian makes a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Ms. Sheila makes a second. Do we have any discussion? I'd like to call for a vote at this time. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Brian? Carrie?
I'm sorry, what was that? I missed that.
It was the consent items, Carrie, that involved the minutes from the special call and the last meeting, the August meeting and the special call. It was the payment of bills, the update on the bank signature authorization, and the lease with Faust Oil that allows the band to use one of their tractors to pull their trailer to their competitions.
Okay,
Okay, the motion carries 5-0. Okay, I need a motion at this time for us to go into closed session pursuant to KRS 61.8E10, paragraph C, discussion or proposal pending litigation against or behalf of the public or general agency.
I make the motion, we go in closed.
Sheila makes a motion to go into closed session. Do we have a second? Tammy Hardy makes a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Carrie, closed session. We may have lost her. Let's go a 4-0 vote on that with, she may be going through a dead spot, and that's okay. We've got a 4-0 vote
We have
with
4 minutes that matter.
Carrie absent from the meeting at this point. And Jeremy can shut us down for a minute. I don't think we'll be real long. For anybody that's listening, we should be
real
over
quickly.
15, 20
Yeah,
minutes.
go ahead.
I'm going to the restroom.
Brian, you still with us?
Yes, sir, I'm still here, buddy.
Good deal. You's awful quiet.
He went to sleep.
Well, I had to tend to my wife a couple of times there, but I'm still right here.
I appreciate you, man. Still praying for you.
Buddy.
So
Thank
we
you,
would
buddy.
like to reconvene this meeting at this time, and we're down to the superintendent's report.
Okay, somewhere. Don't know where I put my glasses.
In your pocket.
Pocket.
Which pocket?
Your shirt
Oh,
pocket.
there it is. Good. I'm losing my mind. See there?
I already lost mine.
Good deal. Real quick, superintendent's report. You have your notification of personnel actions like you normally do. You have a school update on enrollment and attendance numbers. A lot of the homeschool numbers, that is slowed down
Okay.
since the mask mandate. You can sort of look at that. Attendance has actually been pretty good as of lately. We've seen attendance pick up. Of course, we do have the quarantine issue, as you know. So you all have asked for that monthly now, so I've just started, and Donald does a good job supplying that.
Yes, he does.
There's a school fundraiser report there, and every 3 months, it sort of gives you all an idea of what fundraisers are going on out there in our schools. You don't have to approve a fundraiser unless it is a school-wide fundraiser, every student participating. So I just wanted to pass that information along. We've got a couple items here under the special session update in terms of the legislature. It just happened a few weeks ago, and there's a couple of things that came out of that we need to take care of. The first one is your updated COVID-19 guidance. One of the things under Senate Bill 1 is that you were supposed to update your COVID-19 guidance. There was some specific things that they requested that was within that guidance. One of the things it had to do is address masks and those types of things in terms of what you were going to do. Technically, our guidance already addressed most of those issues. As you all know, we have the 5-tiered response in terms of our levels, in terms of where we're at as a school district. Yesterday, or as of today, we're now at level 3. We've been at level 2 for a long time. Level 3 simply states that we can't have school due to staff shortages. And usually that's going to center around lunchroom staff, and it's going to center around transportation staff. It could fall back to schools if there was enough teachers that got sick or in quarantine that you could not have school. So actually, our reason for not being in school the last 2 days, the main reason has been is our transportation department. And I made a clarification yesterday. We sent a guidance document out yesterday, or a press release, and it was probably not clear enough as to why we weren't in school. Yes, our COVID numbers are increasing, but we're nowhere near what we was week 2, week 3. So, but they have been going up here lately in terms of the number of students and staff members. But we had a transportation issue. And we know that our kids in Estill County depend on school bus transportation. And I wasn't willing to say, this bus route and this bus route, you have no driver today, do your best to get here. So we just decided to take a pause, give them a little bit of chance to get ready, and that's why we're not here. But that's the things that's in your COVID-19 guide. It's already been posted and updated, but you've got to give that a plan approval. And you've seen it in the past. It's up there again. It's a part of your attachments that was given to you. So with that being said, my recommendation is we approve the revision to COVID-19 guidance, and knowing that the big deal in there is that masks are still required for all of our students until such a time we feel that it's safe not to.
Okay. So do we have a motion to update our COVID-19 guidance policies?
I make the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Sheila Samples and Tammy Hardy makes a second. Do we have any discussion about this? I'd like to call for a vote at this time. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Brian?
Brian voted aye. So,
And Carrie, we lost.
Carrie, we lost. She left us a little while ago.
So it's 4-0. So, item number 2 was the test to stay program.
Ms. Isford, we have met with the health department this week a couple times. You have some updated guidance that we have looked at in terms of what a test to stay program, what it entails, what parents have to do. And quite honestly, there's no way to know exactly who or how many parents would be interested in this program. There's still a lot of details to work out. We've been talking to Gravity about whether or not they would supply personnel. There's also the concern about whether or not there are enough tests that would even allow us to conduct such a program. The worries also that based on the number of kids that participate, is this going to be something that's going to fall back to our school staff and our school nurses, and they're going to have to conduct tests when they're already completely overloaded trying to do contact tracing and take care of our kids that are already at school. So what I'm going to ask you all to do is I would ask for you all to just table this and not take any action. And this week, we're going to conduct a survey, and Jeremy will help me tomorrow. We'll put together a survey, and we need to find out, first of all, how many parents we have actually interested in this program. There's no need to go to the hassle of putting together a program and trying to get something set up if we have nobody that's interested. And everybody thinks this is not just, oh, we're going to test every day. This is, and we'll put that in the document. This means a parent will have to transport this child to a specific location every day for 5 days in a row. That parent will then have to wait with their child until they test. Then they'll have to take them to school. And then you'll have to repeat that for 5 straight days. There's all kinds of guidelines. You can't load up a van full and bring them in. It has to be you and your child independently. So we worry about how many people are actually interested. And in reality, when it all comes push to shove, it doesn't get anybody back quicker. We also have a lot of kids that participate in extracurricular activities. They think that this is test to play or test to participate, and that is absolutely not true. This does not allow anybody to participate in an activity earlier. They still have to quarantine for a period of somewhere between 8 to 9 days if they participate in this program. So we'll conduct a survey. I'll bring that back to you at the October meeting. If it's a good program, we want to offer it, but we're not going to sell a pig in the poke when it's something that won't work and doesn't meet the needs of our families and students. If that's okay with you all.
And right now, Mr. Saylor, it's not a mandate.
It is not a mandate. It was a tool that was given. I'll be honest, it's a feel-good measure to say we give you another option, when in reality, in my opinion, it's really not an option. I don't think that it's going to be something that it may keep a few kids in school, but I think there are a lot of unintended consequences that have not been thought through. At least everybody's not thinking through in terms of what could happen. I think it could actually lead to some additional quarantines for students that are actually maybe asymptomatic and they're tested negative with a rapid test, and they're actually asymptomatic and positive and carrying the disease. So there are some unintended consequences we've got to make sure that we work through.
So we're going to table that.
We're going to table that and move on to item number 3, because I do have one other item.
So item number 3 is listed as other, and we wanted to talk about the 20-day remote instruction capabilities.
Yes, part of the special session is that school districts was given the ability to have 20 days for remote instruction that is targeted to specific schools based on staff, student issues that they may have. This is in addition to the 10 NTI days that we always have and that we have always had in the past. So whenever you use one of those NTI days, that usually was the ones that was reserved for snow days. Now, if we have to go, if the whole district has to shut down, I could have used an NTI day today. I did not, or tomorrow. I did not use an NTI day tomorrow because we used one of the makeup days that you all approved for spring break the last board meeting. I didn't think it was appropriate. I don't know what kind of winter we're going to have. And like I said before in my last interview that I was interviewed by Channel 36 out of Lexington, I believe if we get to January and we need additional help from the legislature, I believe they'll come through for us. when it comes to NTI days or whatever they need to do. So, but they have given us this 20-day limit. For instance, I know of a high school that's almost a bordering county, that tomorrow their high school is on remote instruction. Only their high school, based on staff shortage there. That's what these 20 days are for. Senate Bill 1 says I need your approval to use those 20 days. So I'm asking you, my recommended motion is that you give the superintendent the authority to use the 20-day targeted remote instruction days for our students.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve this?
I make the motion.
Sheila Samples
I
makes a
second.
motion, Tammy Hardy makes a second. Do we have any discussion? Like to call for a vote at this time, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Brian, you said yes?
You with us, Brian? He's had to step away, so it is a 3-0 vote. It is approved. Item E is for your guys' attention only. It is my professional growth plan based on Standard 1 and Standard 2. And quite honestly, guys, you know right now the focus seems like with our principals and all staff inside the school other than the teachers that are in the classroom, they're having to handle a lot of issues that's caused by the contact tracing that's going on. We're well aware of that. Tanya and I are working hand to hand with principals' evaluations. She is going into the schools and meeting with those principals, and we're working hand in hand in the evaluation of our principals. But just know that it's hard right now. Our focus needs to be on academics, but it's really hard when our leaders are having to focus so much on contact tracing. But that's there for your alls.
Is this the one that'll carry you home? Is this the evaluation that'll carry you home? Will this be the
This,
last?
no, I'll have
We'll
one
have
more.
one more.
Yeah, I've got this one and one more.
Next year's.
Unless you all want to let me slide on that 8th year.
Depends on how much you behave.
I'll try to behave.
Hey, Mr. Saylor.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I was in favor of that last thing. My phone decided it wasn't going to work, and it would not let me hit unmute. So I just want to clarify, it was a 4 to no.
Okay, we'll forgive you this time.
Okay, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you. You're down to
Did
item
you
A.
get that? So we have 4-0 vote on the last item. So we are down to the board member forum. Do we have any comments or anything from the board?
Okay.
Well, I always have something to say. I just have a couple of comments about, I know that our staff are really going through some really hard times right now. And we've lost someone here in our community that's very near and dear to a lot of us. And had children in the school district and family that substitute taught. And I just think we need to remember and keep them in our prayers.
And I think we should have a moment of silence for them.
And Sheila and Tammy and I would like to have just a moment of silence, not only for them, but for everyone in our community that's been suffering.
And the Lee County people too.
Yes, Lee County.
Yes, and we
Bless
would
their hearts.
also like to include our neighboring school district of Lee. Mr. Saylor has kept us updated and apprised of that situation, and they've lost 3 personnel
In
due
one
to
school,
COVID.
in the
And
elementary.
And I think it's, right now, the number across the state's roughly around 43 educational staff across the state.
I saw a text message, or not a text message, but a Twitter message today that another staff member, a special ed teacher, had been lost in another county
Yes.
in western Kentucky.
I think it's 29.
So there's no way to say, guys, this is real. It impacts certain people certain way, and I'm not willing just to accept the fact that it's gonna run its course. I'm not willing to do that, and I know you all aren't willing to do that. That's why we're gonna do everything in our power to protect everybody. I had to defend our teachers and staff based on some messaging that I got that, talking about that it's just teachers not wanting to work, that's why we're out of school. That's the furthest thing from the truth. Our staff members have worked hard. Anybody that believes that, I understand there's some frustration across the state where there were school districts where staff members stayed home and they didn't work, and they were in Florida working by Zoom and all this stuff. I can tell the taxpayers of Estill County that the teachers and staff in Estill County have reported to work every day. And the reason why we reported to work every day is because we honor the taxpayers and the citizens of Estill County, because they have to report to work every day. And I made it very clear to our staff, if other people has to do it, we're gonna do it. It's the right thing to do. So I really take offense to anybody that has something critical to say about our staff and our teachers, and shame on you, whoever, and the person that did it knows exactly who they are. And it offends me, and it offends me for them, because I know how hard our people are working, and it is a dirty shame that anybody would stoop that low, and that's all I've got to say about
And
it.
I've had teachers contact me through Messenger or text. They want to be in the classroom.
They want to be
with
there.
those students. That's
Nobody wanted to be off these 2 days. I'll guarantee you, our bus drivers that have been sick and been out, they want to be there. They want to transport kids. That is the furthest thing from the truth of anything I've had, and that's just a problem with where we're at in this country. This is not a political issue. This is a health and safety issue, and this is about love thy neighbor.
As I said.
Any Christian or anybody that has any moral character about themselves would believe that you should love your neighbor and try to take care of somebody else. And we're not perfect. We won't make the right decision every time, but it won't be because we were trying to make a wrong decision. We're trying to do what's best. So I think I've said enough, but I think that our staff and our teachers, they have worked their butts off, and it offends me that somebody says something like that. I've not responded to nobody negatively in an email till last night, and I lost my cool last night, and I just said what I wanted to say. So, and that's one last thing I want to tell you all. Next week, there's a statement going out about civility in terms of how our parents and how the community treats our teachers and staff. We had an incident where a gentleman walked into our high school and jumped onto our nurse and one of our counselors and was abusive and used abusive language. And I can tell you, it won't happen again, because if it does, they will be arrested or there will be charges filed on them. We're not going to accept the fact. We're here to work and be a good neighbor. We're here to provide good customer service, and we're not always perfect. But I am going to instruct teachers and staff members, if somebody calls you and they're cursing you, if they're raising their voice at you, hang up the phone. We don't have to do it. We don't have to take it. We're not going to take it no more. And that's plain and simple. I don't know any other way to say it. That statement will go out and will be posted on Monday, and we will be following up. I will be talking to the county attorney tomorrow, and I will let them know.
Does that include board members?
That include board member. Listen, their school employees and board members, in my opinion, or school employees are protected by KRS 160-191, which says that there cannot be any type of abusive language or any type of threat made to a school employee. Plain and simple, period. You do not have the right to do that. We're ordinary, everyday citizens, children of God, trying to do the best job we can, and we're through with it. It's over with as of this day, as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
So, I would just like to, give a praise report for Brian and his family. Tracy is home and doing well, and thank everyone for all their prayers. And then at this time, I'd like to have a moment of silence for the Baker family, that have lost, their loved one, and our hearts go out to everyone else. I don't want to leave any names out, and I know there are others out there, but just anyone that is suffering from this virus or from other illnesses that we may not be aware of, just like to have a moment of silence and just remember them in our thoughts and in our prayers at this time. you all for that. Do we have any other comments from the board? Anything else that we need to share? Okay, so we're moving on to public comments. Do you have any for us, Mr. Simpson?
There was a couple that was posted, and one of them has to do with the 2020 census, and I will answer that directly. It's not really part of the board meeting tonight. If it's okay with you all, I will just direct that back to that gentleman. And I appreciate that answer, and I can give him the best answer I think is possible. The second item is a complaint about a school issue. I'm going to contact that parent and have them contact the principal of that school. It's something that probably would be more or less a personnel item that probably is not purview of the board. Those are the only two.
Okay.
So I will take care of both of those tomorrow.
Okay, all right. I'd like to ask for adjournment at this time. Do we have a motion? Shayla makes a motion, Tammy makes a second. Do we have a vote? All in favor? 4-0. Thank you all.